I wanted to get into a brief conversation with Kevin just so he could give us a little bit of his background, because he isn't new to Chicago. We all remember Kevin was also the commissioner of the Big Ten. So 7 years now in Chicago, 8 years? 5 years, 5 years. 5 years in this town, but just over a year as the president and CEO of the Bears organization. What has that been like in this great city?
Thank you for those kind words. And Monica, congratulations to be able to spend your wedding anniversary with some of you and Lou's best friends. But I say it sincerely, and God bless my wife. We just celebrated our 32nd wedding anniversary last week, and I know yes. And I know we could not, I know I couldn't, he couldn't do what we have an opportunity to do with you and people like Greta. So thank you for everything you do for him, because you make the world a better place. So congratulations. I was born and raised in Phoenix, Arizona, the youngest of 7 kids. And my parents were incredibly disciplined. Education was important. Both of my parents were school teachers. My mom was a librarian. She didn't go back to get her college degree until she had me. She had me at 41 years old. And the word is that I drove her out of her mind, so she actually went back to college. And I was the only kid in the family that had a babysitter growing up because my mom went back to school. My father was a student athlete, played football at Arizona State University, got his undergrad, master's, and PhD. And for a lot of reasons, never to make excuses, but he couldn't get an opportunity as a professor until late in life. You know, he was very positive. He served in World War II. And so I had great leaders around me. My oldest brother was a second scholarship football player at Stanford. Went there in 1961 and actually took the Greyhound bus from Phoenix to Palo Alto. So I came from humble beginnings. My grandmother on my mom's side is from Guadalajara, Jalisco, Mexico. So I do have a reason why I like tequila. So it's just a legit a reason. But second grade education was a maid. And my grandfather on my mom's side actually left the family when they were in 8th grade, never came back, so I never got a chance to meet him. And on my dad's side, my grandfather got in an argument with someone who said something irregular to my grandmother, so they were forced to leave Texas, and that's how we ended up in Phoenix, Arizona. And so just like most families, we have real life issues, but I was fortunate to grow up in an environment where my parents were saying, you know, work hard, be disciplined, be good to people, be humble, treat every day like it's your last, and leave every situation better than it was when you arrived. So I owe all of this to my parents, my grandparents, my ancestors, and to my wife. And so I have a heart of gratitude every single day.
President of the Minnesota Vikings. President of the Minnesota Vikings, Commissioner of the Big Ten, President of the Chicago Bears. What inspired you to get into sports management? And we are streaming right now on Fox 32 Chicago. Let's say there's a young woman, man, father, mother who has kids watching. What advice would you give them if they said, I want to become the next Kevin Warren?
I think the advice that I would give would be, you know, my life took an interesting turn, painful turn, but an interesting turn at age 11. I was run over by a car in our neighborhood, and the doctor told me many times I should have died during the accident. I was on my bike, and the car ran over me. I flew about 30 or 40 feet in the air, and by the grace of God, landed on a patch of grass. Had a lot of injuries. I broke my femur, a lot of other internal injuries. Thank God I didn't have any spine or head injuries. But I spent the better part of a year, one in traction in the hospital, and then in a body cast. So I was in a full body cast up to my chest, all the way down to my right toes, 3/4 of the way down my left leg with a pole in between. And I say it all the time, you know, tonight if you get bored, you know, try to eat your dinner laying on your back. And so I've been flat on my back before. I had to go to the bathroom in a bedpan, and, you know, was humbled to the point of just to a heart of gratitude. And that's really how my sports journey started, because I was around so many orthopedic surgeons and who took care of me that when I got a chance to get out of traction, the doctor said, we have some good news and we have some not so good news, and what do you like first? And I always like the not so good news first. And he said, you're getting out of traction, but you're going into a body cast. And then finally, a couple months later, when I got out of the body cast, I asked him what I could do to get back to normal and be an athlete, a young kid. And he said the only thing you should do would be able to swim, because you can't put pressure on your body because you may create more injuries. And so I actually took the majority of the settlement at age now 12 and negotiated with my parents to put a swimming pool in our backyard, because there were no pools in our neighborhood. And my parents said, you can't do it. I said, yes, I can, because it's my money. And so that's what started my sports journey, was the swimming and recovery. And then I had to have a target. And because my brother got a scholarship to Stanford, I wanted to do it. And 6 years later, by the grace of God, I was blessed to be able to play basketball at the University of Pennsylvania and have just an incredible college career. So that's what launched it. But that's when I realized the power of sport, because of me focusing on getting back to be able to compete is what caused me to be a good student. It caused me to spend money on a pool. It caused me to swim every day. It caused me to be disciplined. And it caused me to recognize what sport can do for a city, a family, for people. So what I would say to a young person there, if it's something that's in your heart, go for it, do it, believe. And there's only been 5 presidents in the history of the Chicago Bears, and we're entering our 105th season. George Halas, Muggs Halas, Michael McCaskey, Ted Phillips, and me. So if a young black kid from humble means in Phoenix, Arizona, who should have been killed at 11 years old can be sitting here today, anyone who's watching can be sitting here today.
What have you learned about the power of the Chicago Bears?
And it was interesting during the dual interview process when I was at the Big Ten and this opportunity opened up. You know, my wife has been with me for 32 years. That's the other thing I would say is just consistency in life. I've had the same wife for 32 years and the same executive assistant for 34 years. And Tanya we met 16 years ago in Minnesota, and it took me a while couldn't get her to come to the Big Ten, but finally got her a chance to come to the Bears. But one thing I've learned about the people in Chicago and the power of Chicago is, and my wife reminded me of that when I was talking to the Bears one night at dinner. She said, do you remember I asked you 20 years ago, like, what would be your dream franchise to work with? And you told me in 5 seconds the Chicago Bears. And you told me because the history of George Halas and Virginia McCaskey, the tradition of the Bears, you know, we've always loved Chicago. And I've been trying to move here for a long time. You know, when I got out of Notre Dame Law School, I accepted a job with a law firm here, but then they merged with a firm in Kansas before I graduated because we did NCAA work. And then my first client as a sports agent was Chris Zorich, who was with the Bears, so he and I shared an apartment downtown. So I've been trying to move here, but one thing I recognize is that this is the greatest city on the planet. These are the greatest people on the planet. There is an amalgamation of culture here, of passion, of food, of music, of dance, of art, but just of people. This is real life here in Chicago. And so to be able to work here in Chicago, to be able to represent the Bears, one of the founding franchises, every single morning, most mornings I'm exhausted when I get up, every single morning the thing that I think about are the fans and the people who paved the way here to make this city what it is today. So this is the greatest city on the planet. We just need to make sure we remind ourselves of it, and we need to make sure that we act accordingly.
And this greatest city on the planet right now, I can't remember being this excited about a Bears season since '85, since that Super Bowl year in '85, and for so many different reasons. First pick in the draft, game in London coming up, the rebuilt offense, Caleb Williams, Hard Knocks, Do you feel it? Does the crew, does the staff feel it at Hallis Hall and Lake Forest as well? Because I feel it in the city. I can't walk down Michigan Avenue, or yesterday played in the golf outing for the Bears organization, without people just genuinely fired up about July 19th when the players report, about the 4 preseason games, and then September 8th when it all kicks off.
I mean, not only do I feel it, we helped create it. And what's so special about this is exactly what I visualized it would be here. And I can say this, I would not have accepted this job if this was a playoff team, if they had solved the stadium issue, if everything was in order. I mean, I wanted it to be the most difficult mountain to climb in my career. We won a Super Bowl at the Rams, with the greatest show on turf. The Vikings, we were able to do some great stuff there. And Big Ten was complicated and challenging, but I wanted this to be the most difficult situation. 3 wins before I got here, stadium solution unresolved, staff, up in the air. And so, yes, I feel it, and I'm just blessed the McCaskies have trusted me to be innovative, to be creative, to hire who we need to hire. Having Ryan Poles, as a partner, I can say that deep in my heart. I absolutely love and adore, him. And when you get 2 type A men or people together who have the same common goal, and Coach Eberflus, I feel the same way about him, George McCaskey and the entire family. And then now to have individuals like Tanya and Karen Murphy and Mika Morris and, Ted Cruz, and the list goes on of people here. We have something incredibly special. And you can feel it. We've, bringing the alumni back closer. But so we have this franchise has the capabilities to be the greatest sports franchise on the planet. And what we needed to do was to get the right people in the right place, doing the right things at the right times for the right reason. And we've done it. We got a lot of work to do, but you can feel it coming together.
2 questions about this team. You've seen OTAs. You're a football fan. You've seen football throughout your life. You talked about the experience, the Super Bowl experience in St. Louis with the Rams and the Vikings and the talent in the Big Ten. What did you see at OTAs, mini camp last week, rookie OTAs this week? What are you seeing from this team that makes you feel good about this season?
I mean, a couple of things I've seen, and I go back to our Super Bowl team in St. Louis, is one, you can tell the heart of a team is how they approach pre-practice. Because practice is just enough time to get better, but the way you get great, the way you get exceptional, is what happens in pre-practice and post-practice. That's something I always look for. Our pre-practice was crowded, it was intense. And then you watch practice, and then post-practice was the same way. That's one thing. Number 2, the talent is a lot better. And thirdly, I think the thing that I like the most about it is our players really genuinely like each other. And I've been on some teams, as soon as practice is over, people are in the locker room, they shower, they go their ways. But then in that Rams franchise, people hung out with each other. And our team, not only do they love each other, but now their families are getting together. We go out to dinner, and you look over, you see 4 guys together, sometime with their girlfriends and wives, sometime, just out spending time with one another. Coach Eberflus and Ryan created where they brought in a bunch of professional golf pros to teach a class. Guys are signing up. They have investment classes. I mean, it is really, really special. Last Friday, our player development department led by Erica and Ryan created this idea for Rookie Family School where they brought in the families of the rookies to come in and educate them about life and what it means to be in the NFL. So when you start seeing those things, when people are around the building at all hours of day and night, it's something special, because when you care about someone and you have a common goal, the work becomes really light. And so the thing I've liked the more about it, we got better talent, they really like each other, they work hard, they believe in themselves, and they're focused on being exceptional.
And can I add, the respect they have for their head coach, Matt Eberflus, is something that is often overlooked. And I'll share a quick story. Last year during the season, when the team was struggling badly, 2-6, and people were screaming for Coach to be fired, for there to be a change, Coach asked me to introduce him. His father passed away of ALS, and he was honored by ALS in the city. And we did an event in Bridgeport, and it was the first time away from work where I was able to sit with Coach Eberflus, his wife Kelly, his daughter, and get to know the man. And I remember going back to Fox to do the news at 9, thinking to myself, he's such a good man. I get it, it's all about wins and losses, but he's such a good man, and he's got such respect from his players. This will turn around for him, and it did.
You know, it's easy. I mean, so many people, they were putting heat on him, and they were putting heat on me to make a decision. And I had to make it very clear, there's no business that I'm aware of that is credible, that has staying power, that you can build in 22 months. And Ryan and Matt had only been in the building, you know, even at that time, 22 months, less than 2 years. But I think what you find out is when you allow people to come together and really work hard and carry out their vision, you know, good things happen. And I agree with you. Coach Eberflus is a great, you know, leader. He's selfless. The players care about him. So when you combine that with Ryan and all the other coaches and scouts, and then some of the other things that we're doing there, drafting, you know, good players who are good people, we have an opportunity to have a very, very, very special year. And that people realize that it's not going to be given to us, that we're going to have to go and get it, you know, every single day. And they're getting it right now.
All right, last week we learned Hard Knocks is taking the Bears, like it or not. How do you feel about that as the boss of Hallis Hall? All those cameras in Hallis Hall for Hard Knocks.
I mean, I trust our leadership. I trust Coach. I trust Ryan. I trust our players. I trust our leadership. And you know, if you're doing the right things in the right manner, you have nothing to hide. And so I trust that we'll do it the right way. And I think what people will be able to see, that this is something unique that's going on. The Hard Knocks has been total professionals. And I think it comes out on June 14th. We also are in The Pick Is In. If you haven't seen it, I think Roku dropped the trailer yesterday morning. It'll be on Roku on June 14th about kind of the couple draft days. And that's one of the things that we have to do. And I say it all the time. George Halas, yes, he's a traditionalist. I'm a traditionalist. But he was innovative. He was the first person to watch game tape with his coaches. He was the first leader to have coaches in the press box. He was innovative, and one of the things that we at the Chicago Bears can do, and we're doing right now, is to respect our tradition, keep our core values, but to start embracing our fans more, be more innovative. And so I think it'll be a really positive journey, one on Hard Knocks, but to be on Pick Is In, Hard Knocks, a Hall of Fame game, play in London, and you know, people around the world are interested in the Chicago Bears.
All right, obviously, building the new stadium on the lakefront is a priority for the organization. You yourself said that delays could cost anywhere from $150 million a year. How disappointed were you that the Illinois legislature adjourned its spring session without moving forward with a deal for the Bears?
I don't think I've ever been disappointed in anything. I understand these are big projects. They take time, energy, and effort to come together. They're expensive. You have to have foresight. You have to have vision. You have to have wisdom. There are a lot of pressing needs that are going on that our elected officials, and I'd like to thank all the elected officials who are here, you know, for your service and everything you do on a daily basis. I mean, I understand this is part of the process, but I strongly believe, you know, we need a new stadium, obviously. For Chicago to have never hosted a Super Bowl, a Final Four, a college football playoff, these mega events, we're losing out. And, you know, Sports Business Journal comes out of the top 25 cities, you know, ranked as far as, you know, sports events. Chicago wasn't even on the top 25. I mean, that's embarrassing. And I've said it, you know, recently. One of the things that concerns me, and I can say this, I live downtown, is that we only have 8 active cranes in the air here in Chicago, 8. And you compare that to a place like Nashville, has 45, Seattle, 45. Toronto, which is a city that's very similarly sized to Chicago, has 238. So if you don't have cranes, that means you're not building. If you're not building, you're not growing. If you're not growing, you fall behind. I mean, we got some of the greatest construction companies here that are ready to go to work. We have people ready to go to work. This stadium project, we're talking about 43,000 job hours, 4,000 new jobs. And I only know what I know, and I saw in Minneapolis and the Twin Cities for us to build the U.S. Bank Stadium, on time, under budget, for what it has done. Anyone who knows the Twin Cities, that part of town was a dying area, and it just activated. But can you imagine hosting a Super Bowl here in Chicago, a Final Four, college football playoff, the Olympics? I saw last week at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis, they built a swimming pool in there to host the Olympic trials. Those are things that we're missing out on: concerts, residencies, all the different things that we deserve. We have the infrastructure with the hotels, the people, the food, and so I'm confident that at the correct time that we will come together to figure out a stadium solution.
You were able to pull it off in Minneapolis for U.S. Bank Stadium. By the way, paid off the stadium 23 years ahead of time. So Kevin knows what he's doing. This isn't someone that's building a new stadium for the first time. Has it been more difficult to deal with Illinois politics opposed to the politics in Minnesota?
I would say no. I mean, interestingly enough, every jurisdiction has their own way of doing business. And so it hasn't been, this is exactly what I expected to do, and I say it every day. Every morning, first thing I do is get out of the bed, get on my hands and knees, and thank God for another night, another morning that I was able to wake up. And when I think through it, and Tanya can attest to this, if you're involved in building one of these stadiums in your career, it's incredible. And for us to have a chance now to do it 2 times, but it hasn't been more, difficult. We live in a complicated world. This is an election year. I mean, we have people who don't have meals to eat. We have people sleeping on the street. We have a lot of complex issues that we are dealing with. So I'm a realist to understand, these projects are not something you do just over a weekend. That's one of the reasons why you sign 30 and 40-year leases, to make that commitment. But I will say I've seen what a stadium project will do for a city, a state. And even as the Chicago Bears, as we get better as a football team, the NFL gets better. And so it is just important that our people here recognize of what a stadium project will do for this city, for our surrounding areas, for the state of Illinois, for the National Football League. Last year, 93 out of the top 100 television programs, all programs were the National Football League. And so, it's really important, because so every time we're displayed on television, Chicago is displayed on television. I've already started to visualize now our opening weekend against the Titans. Who's going to sing the national anthem? What will the flyover be like? What will the environment? Because the whole world is going to be on Chicago. And as that game goes, that 3 hours, people are talking about Chicago. Tanya just got back from London a couple days ago to get things lined up for us to go. People are excited for us to come. So this is not only for us building a football stadium, this is for us really having a chance to build a city, a state, and really represent all the people in this room in a very positive way.
Honestly, when Kevin sat at the table, I told him I was in studio at Fox. I wasn't at Soldier Field for the press conference back in April. I'm a taxpayer in the state of Illinois. I live across the street from Soldier Field, bought a condo 20 years ago in the museum campus, and was promised as a condo buyer, taxpayer across the street, that area would change, and it hasn't. Okay, I'm tired as a taxpayer of hearing drag racing on the Fetridge Drive between the Field Museum and Soldier Field. So I'm 100% behind this project. Season ticket holder, as I said. When I see the Speaker of the House, Chris Welch, say that there's just no appetite out there for taxpayers to contribute to build a new stadium for a football franchise like the Bears, and I see what the Kansas City Chiefs are going through, all right? Super Bowl winners in 4 of the last 5 years, AFC Championship game 6 years in a row, and taxpayers in Kansas City said no thank you. And then Governor Pritzker says that there's no rhetoric about what's next. There's no plan B. Does that worry you?
I mean, all it says is we have more work to do. And, you know, I'm always optimistic. You know, I look at this as an opportunity of certain things that we can get right here in the city. You look at the museum campus, you know, there are infrastructure needs that we need here in downtown Chicago on Lakeshore Drive. So we have more work to do. We're going to continue our conversations with our elected officials and continually just work on it. But, you know, it's something that's important. It's something that I'm confident that the appropriate time we'll be able to figure something out. It's something that's necessary. And just the economic engine. And I ask this question seriously. You know, we've committed to over $2 billion, and the Bears are not a publicly traded company. This is a private company owned by a family, 2 families. And I cannot remember the last time, and if anyone in here is, I'd ask you to raise your hand if you remember the last time that a privately owned business committed to $2 billion in the city of Chicago. Like if you can do it, I would ask for you to raise your hand. I don't see any hands raised. And then I would ask you if the last time a privately owned company committed to $1 billion of investment here in Chicago. Raise your hand. It hasn't happened. And so for the McCaskey families and Pat Ryan to commit to over $2 billion for a stadium in the city of Chicago, to do it the right thing, and we're committing to over 72% of the stadium, you know, project in here. This is something unique. It's something special. So we'll continually remain positive. We'll continually to work hard. I'll continue to show great respect for our elected officials because they have a job to do also. But I'm confident that as we continue to talk and work things out, that at some point in time we'll be able to figure out what's the right thing to do.
Kevin, specifically, the NFL is considering allowing private equity, institutional money, to get involved by pieces of sports football teams. It hasn't happened in the NFL. It's happened in a number of the other sports. And just here locally, when the Cubs went through their $375 million renovation of Wrigley Field, the Ricketts family actually sold off 10% of the Cubs to 6 individual investors. Would the McCaskey family consider something like that?
I mean, that's something that we have not talked about. That's something that is not on the table at this point in time. It's just not, and I don't ever visualizing that becoming part of the discussion. We don't think is necessary to do. And again, back to the fact that they've committed to $2 billion of assets to invest in the stadium. The proposed stadium in the city would be owned by, wouldn't even be owned by us. So some people have even come to me and say, Kevin, what's the trick question? We know you're an astute business person. Why would you put in $2 billion and not own it? And my response has been because it's the right thing to do. Because I think as stronger Chicago becomes, the stronger the state becomes, and the stronger the NFL becomes. So it's the right thing to do. But we haven't explored that, and I would say that that's never say never, but I would say that that is not something that we would ever focus on.
Aurora Mayor Richard Irvin's in the House. You still own the land in Arlington Heights. Yes. Are they still something that you aren't considering right now because the main focus has been on the lakefront?
Well, one, it was good to see Mayor Irvin. I think he's somewhere. Here he is over here. I mean, he is again an incredibly astute businessman, incredibly astute politician. He's done a great job for his city, and I'm glad that he's here in the state of Illinois. Arroyo is a really special place. We're the largest landowner in Arlington Heights. We own 326 acres, and it's a great piece of land. And our focus right now, has been and will remain on Chicago. And so we'll continually just keep driving forward to see what we can work out here in the city.
Session's adjourned for the spring. Can you still talk
100%,
to the politicians? So there can still be discussion
every
moving
day.
forward.
I mean, every day. I already had meetings this morning. This is something, two things I can guarantee every single day is the focus on the football team, focus on our stadium, and then the other thing is making sure that we build a winning culture here in Chicago. So I work on football and our stadium / business and our culture every single day. Now, this is the time that really the real work will get done.
All right, I want you to share with us, because this team is playing in London. What is your philosophy, your vision as you look at the Bears as a global brand?
I mean, we're clearly a global brand. I've read a statistic recently. We have 1 million avid fans, fanatical fans, which is the largest in the NFL. 3.5 million fans here in Chicago. We have 13 million fans nationally, domestically, and 30 million fans globally. So that puts us over 43 million fans that love the Chicago Bears. I mean, we've started a girls' flag football team in London. These young ladies are growing just leaps and bounds with confidence. And so we truly are a global brand. You understand it, but you don't really recognize it until you travel. I've been fortunate to travel around the world, and I cannot remember a trip that I've taken around the world that either on the flight, in the hotel, on the street, on a restaurant, and it's almost like this awesome little code, because you just whisper it when you walk by someone and they just will say "bear down," and so it's the most awesome thing. And then you recognize, the Chicago truly is around the planet. And so whether you've been, in Paris and London and Grand Cayman, without fail, you run into people who are Bears. So they're Bear fans around the world, and because of that, almost to the point of probably exhaustion, I have made a promise that I'm going to do everything within my power to, one, bring us multiple Super Bowl trophies, build us the best stadium in a manner that will be cost efficient, build us the best franchise, impact the community. We've donated over $38 million since 2011 to the community. But I want people to be absolutely ecstatic and proud that the Chicago Bears are their team, that they can get those jerseys out of their closet, put on that hat. They don't have to be, kind of forlorn about it, but they can be proud that they've associated with the Chicago Bears. So we're going to do everything that we can. Personally, I'm going to give you every ounce of energy, and we're going to do it with style. We're going to do it with grace, and we're going to do it with class and great partners like you and Sheila Oliver here, and just keep doing it. But it's been exciting for me. I love challenges. I love climbing flat mountains, and it just seems like we'll figure out a way to do it, and do it in a manner that everyone here, when they sing "Bear Down," that they will sing it with a loud voice.
I can't wait until that London game, and there's so many. I think 4 games now in London this year. Mexico City, right. Brazil, the Packers will be there. Do you foresee the day soon that we have a franchise, an NFL franchise overseas?
There's been some discussion with that. There's so many subtleties and nuances associated with that. How do you handle the taxes? How do you handle the travel? What happens? I mean, we are a global brand. I know there's been some discussion, who knows what happens in the future, but that becomes somewhat complicated, but it's something that people discuss, and I know it's, I love the global nature of the business, and one thing about it, the NFL and the Bears we're in an environment right now that we realize that the world is small, it's shrunk, and so it'll be interesting to see what happens. I'm excited about our game there against the Jaguars, but we're focused on doing everything that we can to win that game. It's a business trip, yes, with some of our corporate partners, and to be able to grow our brand, But the key of it is to go to London and go 1-0. I mean, that's what we have to do.
I'll tell you what, the sports world is changing, and I don't know how many of you out there follow what's going on with the NBA right now and its television rights for $76 billion. How do you see sports changing the way it's just part of everyday life for people?
I mean, so many things in life right now, you know, are scripted. Even if you go to a concert, it's scripted. You know, television is scripted. You know, there is nothing on the planet like live sports. And, you know, you watch the Celtics and Mavs the other night. I mean, back and forth, back and forth. I mean, I was watching the NHL, you know, playoffs. I mean, all the different things. It is really, it's life. And so to be able to go and see it in an athletic, you know, environment is incredibly special. When you, especially when you can see it in a venue that's comfortable and nice and new. So I don't think live sports is going anywhere. If anything, is getting, you know, stronger. And so it's so good to see that our local teams of support. I mean, look what happened with our women's soccer to be able to break the record, you know, the other night at Wrigley Field. All of those different things. I got a chance to enjoy it, you know, at the Big Ten, you know, conference. So sports is here to stay, and to have the NFL as the strongest, you know, sports in all of the sports, you know, is really, really special. And is you know, one of the good things that, you know, we sell memories, and that's what we do. We create memories. And I have so many fans who write me letters and reach out to me and tell me, you know what, ex-Bears game, that was the last time that I went with my father or my mother, or that's where I was when I, you know, found out that this news. So I look at our home games are an opportunity to recruit talent to the city. There will be young people who will come to our games who are making a decision. Do I work in Chicago or New York or LA? And if they have a great experience, they'll come to Chicago and they become tax-paying members. So it's so important. And what we want to do is to make sure that we hire Chicago-based companies. I mean, we just switched over to Levy Foods, which is a Chicago-based companies, put construction, people create jobs, and create that environment that we want on Friday. If we're playing on Sunday, that on Friday people start thinking about, what am I wearing? What are we going to eat? What time are we leaving for the game? And I'll say this, the NFL is one of the few environments, not that I like when we do this, but where people change their time they worship service around it, depending on when the Bears, you know, are playing. And so we've become part of just the fiber of not only Chicago, of Illinois, of the NFL, but of families. And we're constantly making memories, and I just want us to make even more.
It's truly a religion. Caleb Williams. Everyone wants to know about Caleb Williams. And I want you to tell us, because you're a man who's a good judge of character, the character of the people you've hired, who you inherited as president of the organization, are good people in Lake Forest. Tell me something about Caleb Williams that really struck you, the man off the football field.
I would say his commitment to excellence. I think the thing that is really special is his competitive spirit. People asked me the other day, I was having a conversation, someone said, what do I look for when we hire, that I look for hire people? You know, I look for people who are hardworking, who are curious, who have a commitment to excellence, and who are team first people. So the thing that has just struck me about him is that he's a passionate young man, and he's a leader, and he's won at every single level. Like, he is determined to really do all that he can to be exceptional, to be great, and to work hard. He doesn't act like your normal top pick, you know, in the draft. I mean, he's there early, and I'm an early person. He's there early, he's there late, and he's doing all that he can to be able to be an absolutely exceptional quarterback. So everything that Ryan and coach and our scouts and coaches saw in him is true. And no sense of arrogance at all, just a hard-working young man that comes in every single day. And he loves the city. He loves these people here. He loves the fans. And between he and Rome and the other draft picks that we've taken this year and the ones we already have there, you're going to see a really unique group of young men here who are passionate about being exceptional.
All right, let me give you a wrap up here because I want to take the conversation and just kind of put a nice bow on it. You're a man who's a visionary. I've told you this in the past. These fans in this town deserve a Super Bowl, and they deserve to watch a Super Bowl team. They're the greatest fans in the world. They deserve to watch it in the greatest sporting venue in the world as well. Give me your vision as you think about this year and what's next for this organization.
I mean, I think my vision is continued massive progress. I mean, 3 wins, 7 wins. You know, be interesting what we can accomplish this year. One of the many reasons why I accepted, and I don't call it a job, I accepted this responsibility was as I was going through the process. It was in December. It was a nice, breezy, cold day in Chicago. And I made the decision to get my daughter and a couple friends to come with me to the Bears-Eagles game. And, you know, the Eagles were a playoff team, focused on making the playoffs. The Bears had struggled that season. I went online, I bought tickets, I bought a parking pass. I didn't say anything to anyone. I sat outdoors, and it was that day. And I had been to a lot of Bears games, one being in the division and coming to Soldier Field over the years. But I said, this is December. This team is out of the playoffs, and this stadium is packed. And I saw kids from 4 years old to 90-year-old committed to the Bears. And the biggest thing is I saw the passion that was on the field. But parking in the parking lots, just going through that whole process, in my heart, when I walked out of there, I told my wife, I said, that's the place that I'm supposed to be. And so that my vision for this year is for us to do incredibly well on the field, to win the games that we're supposed to win some games maybe we're not supposed to win, to play together as a team, to be absolutely physically dominating on defense, to be creative on offense, to have some special teams weapons, to get these fans so excited that they come early, they want to stay late, they have a great environment. And then from a business standpoint, for us to continually touch the community in a special way, for us to make massive progress on our stadium, to be in the ground in 2025 so we can open up in 2028 and be able to bid for Super Bowls after that. But I expect, you know, for us to continually make progress, you know, like we're doing. It's not for everyone. The seat that I sit in is not for everyone, but we need to come together, be collaborative, believe in ourselves, be confident, don't take anything for granted, and wake up every single day. I told our associates, they're our interns, yesterday, I said, I look at myself as an associate every single day. So today is my first day at the Chicago Bears. That's how I approach it. I'm going to do everything I possibly can. So in the morning when I go to Hallis Hall and I look at that statue of George Hallis, and in the evening when I say my prayers and get ready to get into bed, that I think and I ask myself, you know, that's why I wear this pin, would he look at me and say, you know, good job today? And if I can continually just stack in those days, I think people not only in this room but our fans are going to be really pleased with the results that they see. And then my whole goal every day is my prayer is to be the best servant leader that I possibly can. Our staff who's here, some of them here, please stand up. You all stand up. I want to thank them right here. But those individuals, Tanya, all of them, they don't work for me. I work for them. And if I continually be the best servant leader as I possibly can be, then everyone in this room is going to be happy, not only with the results that we make this year, but that we make over time. And I'm not looking for a good year. I'm looking for a great decade. And that's what I think about every single day.
Here's to a great 2024. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
And I know that everyone has work to get to, so thank you all for attending the Lincoln Forum, and We'll see you next time. Thank you very much.